Now, after that, we have understood the key process and what does it mean with identifying the stakeholders. Now, let's have a more depth session about identifying the stakeholders, ITTOs, as one of the key processes in the initiating process group. So, in this session, we'll cover the tools and techniques essential for effective stakeholder identification, including the brainstorming and expert judgment and advanced mapping tools such as the power interest grid and the stakeholder cubes. As you could see that we have the key inputs involved in identifying the stakeholders, including the project charter where you have got the approval from as the first process, and then the business documents, including the business case, the project management plan, project documents, agreements, the EEFs and OPAs. The tools and techniques here mainly use is the expert judgment, data gathering, data analysis, data representation, and some of the meetings. And the outputs out of this process would be the stakeholder register and the change requests that might you need to consider in case if you have covered any stakeholders that is missing. So you need sometimes to submit a change request to update the stakeholder register. Also, you need to expect some of the project management plan updates in case if you have identified any discrepancies that you have to fix or to update. So one of the outputs that you might need to do is to update the project management plan. Also, the last one is it's the project document update. Again, so stakeholder identification leverages the inputs like the project charter, EEFs, and OPAs, and using tools like gathering interpersonal skills, project managers generate and outputs like the stakeholder register and the key deliverables in this process. Let's understand the brainstorming as one of the key tools when identifying the stakeholders. So, brainstorming sessions are collaborative tool for identifying the stakeholders. Involving team members ensure diverse perspectives are captured, leading to a throughout list of stakeholders. How to use expert judgment when identifying the stakeholders as one of the key tools. So, expert judgment involves consulting and experienced professionals who provides insights into the organizational structures, also the past projects and any hidden stakeholder dynamics, ensuring that no critical stakeholders are missed. Stakeholder mapping techniques. So, mapping techniques like the power, interest grid, and stakeholder cube visualizes the stakeholder influence and the interest level on purchasing the project. And these tools enable the project managers to categorize the stakeholders based on their power interest on the project and develop a tailored engagement strategies as one of the key processes that is involved in the planning process group. To understand exactly what is the power interest grid. So the power interest grid categorizes the stakeholders based on their influence and based on their interest level. This categorization helps project managers to focus resources on stakeholders with the greatest impact on the project success. So you might have some of the key categories, including the high power, high interest, that you need to manage these stakeholders very closely. The next category here you have is the high power and low interest, which you need to keep them satisfied. With the stakeholders has a low power and high interest, you need to keep them informed. But when you have, let's say, the low power and low interest stakeholders, you need to monitor these stakeholders closely to ensure that they become more, let's say, engaged throughout the project implementation. So the stakeholder cube incorporates additional dimensions like the stakeholder attitude or urgency for the requirements to be implemented, offering a dynamic and comprehensive view of the relationships, which is considered as critical for some complex projects. Let's have a practical application of these tools that we have covered already. So in real world, let's say an IT project, brainstorming and expert judgment can help identifying the internal users and external vendors as a key stakeholders. So the power interest grid was or can be used to, to categorize and prioritize their engagement on the project level. The key benefit of using these tools when identifying the stakeholders. So tools like brainstorming or expert judgment and stakeholder mapping ensures that no critical stakeholders are overlooked. They also help project managers to develop an effective engagement strategies and reducing the project risks. To summarize our session here, we say that using tools like brainstorming, expert judgment, and mapping techniques, and the power grid interest grid and stakeholder cube ensures that an effective stakeholder identification and engagement, setting the foundation for the project success.